All right. So I upload two of the recordings, right? So you can, there was a third recording, but no sound is on it. So I didn't worry, upload it. I mark your work, right? So marks. So I mark most of them, right? There's a couple missing work, so persons can go and check what's missing and do any task that you didn't complete. So by doing it, it will help you to remember things more. So you have the input output device quiz, storage quiz, computer specifications. Well, the quiz is right here, right? We have user interface quiz. For the most part, persons do well in terms of them. Now, with the Excel, now the Excel activity that um, only, well, how much? Only 3 persons did it, right? So I want everybody to do it so I know that you understand, right? Because if you don't do it, then I won't know that you understand or not. And a next thing that I was thinking about, I was wondering, everybody here is registered on the Google Classroom, right? Let's see. All right. So yeah, everybody's there. Yeah. All right. So in terms of the activity, the Excel activity, try to get that completed. Now for today's class, we will be going in depth with Microsoft Excel. Oh no, not well. You know what? I'm gonna pause a little. Like how last week, last class, which was on Friday, we went to Excel. So for today's class, we're gonna look at the SBA. We're gonna start the SBA. Now I think I had reminded everybody that this week we're gonna use our computers. So um was the computers, were you able to get the computers, or do we still have computer issues?
I get mine now, sir.
All right. So Carlton, did you get access to a computer? Right. So you can either click on the recent documents over this side, or you can click on a blank workbook. There are some templates that if it suits you, you can look through the templates that are there. But generally, we create our own workbook, blank workbook, right? So by default, in Office 2013, it only has one sheet, right? But you can create as much sheet as you want that can store its separate information. So for the SBA, you will be required to store data in multiple sheets. So all of the sheets together make up a workbook. So remember to save as you go along, as you're working, file. So you click on your file, you click on your save as, and click on computer and you choose where you want to save it, and press save. Type in a name and you save your workbook, right? So we were doing this a while ago, so I'm just gonna open that one that we were working on, right? So we use merge and center to do cell A1, to merge cell A1. So we merge it, highlight A to G1, and then we use a merge and center feature to merge all of that cells into one. In terms of the color, we use the fill color, right? And you can change it to whatever color you want, right? You can also change the font color, right? The A right here is a font color. You can change it to a font that is visible, right? We typed all of this information here, and when you're dealing with headings, always bold your headings and use fill color so it looks so it stands out. To separate the headings from the actual data. All right. So uh, when you're doing your Excel work, always border your work. Even though you see these grid lines, it's not a border. So if we were to print this, print, see there's no grid lines. All right. So to show the grid lines, you have to manually add it. So we're gonna select using the select cursor. This the fat cross means select. You see that this cross right here. I remember the notes. Notes are here, right? So go to the notes. So this cursor it used to select a range of cells. Remember these ones used to resize the this one is used to resize the row, and this one is used to resize the column. Alright, and this is the fill hand. This one is used to move the cell, and this is a fill handler to copy the formula to arrange our cells. So we're gonna border this word now. So we're gonna select from A1 to A7 right here, right? A1 to G7, I should say, sorry. It starts at A1 and all the way to G7. So right here, you'll see a window looking icon right beside the underline, right? So you click the arrow to get more options, and then we're gonna use all borders, right? So once you turn on the all border, you'll see each cell brightly bordered, right? And you can change the border style if you want. So you can change the color, you can change the line style, right? And you can erase the border. And to remove the border, same process. The only difference, you'd select no border right here. All right, so border will work. So put in these columns, and remember when you're doing, especially for your SBA, first name and last name, always put them in separate columns. So for your SBA, you would naturally have ID number, first name, last name. You're gonna also have pool and the 5 grade, test 1, 2, 3, project and exam. Alright, so we are gonna come to the SBA in a minute. I'm gonna explain a few things, but let's finish up this. So once you're dealing with money, always put the dollar sign and the 2 decimal places, the figures to 2 decimal places. In this case, I never typed it because I can let the computer do it for me. But when you're dealing with percentage, it's a bit different. Always put on your percentage sign, especially for the grades. So we highlight this text, then we can just click on the dollar sign right here in the middle, and automatically put on the dollar sign and set it to 2 decimal place. Now we're going to do a calculation. So we are going to calculate the tax, right? When, oh, I want another row right here. So I'm going to use a feature called insert. So once you see this arrow over this side, you can use it to select the row. Then we can insert a row. So there's 2 ways to insert a row. You can put the cursor all the way over to the where the number is, right? And right click and then you press insert. Right? Another way you could do it, you can click in any cell in that row. Doesn't matter which one. Right click, insert, then you can click on the entire row. And to delete it is the same procedure where you do it over here or over this side. And you use delete entire row. Right? Now we're gonna put the tax rate. Now it's always a good practice whenever you're say doing calculation, don't hard code the values in the cells. For example, say the tax is 16.5%. I could say 80, right? And you see E6 right here because it is referencing 80 is stored in E6, cell E6. Now this is called relative cell referencing. right? The reason why we don't, we could have chosen to do this 80 um, times 16.5%. Say we could have chosen to do this and it would calculate it for us. But when we want to replicate the values, it's not going to work. It's gonna book our hard code the values. Now the difference now when I use cell reference, right? So the reference will be E6. Excel will automatically go to E7, then E8 and 9 and so forth in that order, right? Without you have to type in the formula again and again and again. So E6, because the value is stored in column E and row 6, right? So the cost, these are the costs, E6 multiplied by the reference at B3. Even though we're not type it in yet, but we're going to use B3 right here. Look, column B, row 3, right? And we're supposed to get the tax rate. Now it blank right here. The reason why it blank because I'm going to put in nothing here. Watch this now. 16.5%. You notice this automatically update, right? What if the tax rate changed to 20%? Automatically update. So that's why Excel is powerful because it allows you to automatically update values. So in case if we had hard coded the tax rate, we would have to go inside the formula and change it. But with just changing the formula here, anywhere that value is referenced is automatically updated. Now we were talking about the fill handler before. Now this little dot right here. Whenever you're replicating a formula, you can put the cursor on the dot right in the corner right here, and you drag and replicate, and automatically calculate this. Now we get some wrong. We didn't get a value right here, and we get this error right here. Now the reason why we get an error is because Excel automatically moved to the next cell. Now let me show you what I'm talking about. This is a powerful feature of Excel. So let's go into the formula bar up here. So we click up here to see what's happening. If you notice before it was at B3, but now it automatically goes to B4. Right? And if we look at this, it was at E6 and it automatically goes to E7, which we want that, right? We want it to move automatically to E7 and automatically to E8. But the tax rate, we do not want that value to move from right here. So what we do, we use a feature called absolute cell reference. With absolute cell referencing, what you do, you put $sign on both sides of the value that you're referencing. So in this case, B3, we do not want B3 to move from this cell address. So wherever I have B3 in the formula, I'm going to put $sign on both sides of the letter. So put a $sign at the B, just the B. You're not going to put any on the E because we want the E to move automatically to the 150 and automatically to the 140. So if you put $sign on the E, it's not going to move. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If you do this, then you're going to have the same answer. It's not going to move, right? It's going to still use E6 and B3, E6, B3, E6, B3. Right? But we want the E6 to move, but we do not want the B3 to move because that's where the tax rate is for the B3. Right? So this is called absolute cell referencing. When you put the $sign on both sides of the letter, which tells the formula not to move from this cell address or cell position. So let's try this again. Let's replicate this using the fill handler right here. We drag it down. See? Click it. E6 times B3. E6, B3. Let's look at the next one. Say it automatically go to E7, B3 is still there right here. So look at the next one. E8 and it's still the B3. So that's absolute cell referencing right here. Now the next thing, sales price. So we need to calculate the sales price, which we're just going to add the cost plus the tax, right? Whenever you're doing any form of calculation in Excel, you're supposed to use the equal sign, right? So once you're doing any form of calculation in Excel, we use the equal sign. So if you're adding, you're multiplying, you're using a function or formula, you use the equal sign. So the equal sign means that you're about to do a calculation, right? So you press enter and it adds in 80 plus 16, 96. And we use a fill handler again to replicate that formula. Now the powerful thing with this, say the cost change, 110, formula automatically updated. Say it change 200, automatically updated. That's why we do not hard code values, but we use reference, right? So do not hard code values, use the references. So in the event that there needs to be an update, it's easy. Following?
Yes, sir.
All right, so everybody type up this and get this already.
Not yet, sir. Not yet.
No, sir.
All right, so I'm gonna give you about 5 minutes or so to type this up, and then we continue. We're gonna look at average, sum, minimum, maximum, and count formulas. And I'll look at some other formulas, and then we talk a little bit more about the SBA.
Sir, can you check if you're seeing the FBA now, sir?
All right, I'm gonna check it. So there's no formula here. So we want to fill the formulas in these empty cells. So we use the fill handler right here to replicate the formula. Now, without absolute cell referencing, this is what's going to happen. If we look at this one, the second one, this move and this move, we want E7 to move to E8 and E6 to E7, but we do not want B3 to move to B4 because this is where the tax rate is stored. So what we do, we use absolute cell referencing, in which for the B, you put the dollar sign on both sides of the B. So we'll put a dollar sign right here, we'll put a dollar sign right here, and we press enter. So if we replicate again, and let's click on the second one, notice for this E6 move to E7, right? But B3 still remain here, right? Because we want E7 to move. And if we look at this one, it automatically moved to E8, but B3 is still there. Okay?
Sir.
Yes.
How did you say again we need to go about the equal E6 dot dot?
Uh-huh. It's right here. The formula is on the
Yes,
screen.
sir. Just put it in like that?
Yes.
I thought we had to put on something.
Mm-mm. So I'll explain it again in the event that you don't understand it. Alright, so we're gonna,
Both the tax and the sale price, sir?
right, delete it, just like how I have it here. So let's highlight everything and just press delete on the keyboard. So we're gonna use a formula, right, to calculate the tax value right here. Right, so we have right here in cell B3 the tax rate, right? So the tax will be the cost times the tax rate, but we're not gonna hard code a value. So what do we mean by hard code? Hard code means that the value that you want to calculate, you're going to put it in the formula. If you do that, for example, if I did this 80
Sir.
times, yes,
Knowing that I'm on my phone, how am I going to actually delete all of it?
um, well, Tina, using a phone,
Just
probably you have to
go back
go to
into
the
text
cell
formula.
and press delete or
Go
backspace, just
back to
delete.
what?
Probably you need to just go into each cell and press the backspace on your keyboard and
I'm
delete
on my
them.
phone.
No, I'm saying it's still not make no difference. Just go on the cells and press backspace on your
Okay.
keyboard. Right, so go on your space. Remember your keyboard have a backspace.
Yeah.
Right, so go on it and press backspace and delete them out. Tell them when you do that.
I'm trying to go back where it was. All I'm seeing is FX sum that average max. I don't know where to go back.
You want to share your screen so I can see what you're doing so I can better
I'm on a
assist?
next, not on the device that I'm
Oh, okay.
actually
Oh,
on
yes, I
now.
just remember.
But I know where I see where I had the formula. I think I would click on back on the formula and delete it from there. Because if I move it from here, then everything going to
Or you can
gone and
just
I have to
edit the
type all
formula.
over again.
You can just edit the formula. If you can't delete it, you can always edit the formula. Alright? So just click on cell F6, which is right here. So we're gonna calculate the
And what?
tax
Go
for
again?
John Bro. So just put the cursor right, click in cell F6 right here, the first one.
Okay.
Right, so we're gonna calculate the tax. How would you calculate the tax?
We're going to calculate this.
Looking at this, how would you calculate the tax?
If that we would have the cost price.
Well, not add, but multiply, right? So you would,
Right.
so the government get 20% of whatever you buy
20%. Yeah,
added to your
on this.
cost, right? So $80, right? We're not going to type 80 because if we hard code the 80, it's going to give us more work, right? We could have said this and it would have worked for the first one, but that would have give us more work long term because when we want to replicate it, it automatically calculate the values. It won't do it because you hard code the values, you hard code the formula. Understand what I'm doing?
Go again, sir. Oh, looking at my phone, but just
All
leave
right,
this alone.
let's focus for me right now. I'm saying do not hard code the values. That means you're going to type the exact literal value in the formula. I'm saying don't do that. Use the cell reference. Now, what is the cell reference for 80?
What is the one, sir?
Cell reference
That
for
would
the,
be that would be AF,
no, it would be
AAE,
E, E6, right? It's in the 80. Here's the
A1,
80.
E. Okay, one, two,
80
three,
is
four,
in
five,
column
six, seven.
E. See it here?
Okay,
E.
eight. Yes, so it would be E6.
Right. And row 6.
Take the
So it would
row and
be
column.
E6. Right? The 20%, what cell is that in?
B3.
B3, right. So instead of hard coding the formula by putting the literal values, which Only are we doing more work over time, right? We use the reference. So the 80 is located at E6. So you put E6 or you can just click on it, right? Times the 20% which is located at B3. You can click on it or you can just type it in. E6 times B3. Now this will move automatically, but one problem. We don't want the B3 to move automatically. We want the E6 to move to E7, then E7 to E8, right? Because E6 has the 80, E7 has the 200, E8 has 140 stored there. Following?
Yes, sir.
But in the formula, we are multiplying E6 by B3. For the first one, it will work. But for the second one, it automatically
B6.
moves, right? So we do not want it to move, so we use a feature called absolute cell referencing, in which we we go back to the first formula that we type, and on the B3 we put $sign on both sides of the letter, just like that. See it? Following?
Yes, sir.
Right. Once you put $sign on both sides of the letter, the B3, only the B3, because that's what we want to stay static, because that's where the tax rate is, B3. Following?
Yes, sir.
So once we replicate the formula now, we're supposed to get the correct answer. So if we look on the first one, E6 times B3. So B3, E6. Let's look on the second one. E7, notice it moved to 7 by itself, times B3. B3 no move. The next one, it move by itself to E8. And if we have a next value, so we have this and this, whatever it there, we can just drag it down and it calculates it for us automatically. Look, E9 times B3, E10 times B3. So if we have a million values, it automatically moves. Now, if you ever come across this right here, this number sign, number sign, number sign, number sign, this means that there is not enough space in the cell, so we need to widen it out. Okay?
You're not going to do what, sir?
This means that you don't have enough space in the cell. So we have to widen out
Okay.
the cell. So go to the top in between the letters, in between the column, and we widen it out, and we get a value. So we're not going to use this. This was just for demonstration. So I'm going to just delete these columns. Delete, enter arrow, okay. So that's how we got the tax. So everybody get the tax, right? Hello?
Yes, sir. It's just because I need to get my thing deleted out, but then I'm going to go on this task route.
Okay. Now we need to do the sales price. Now if
Go again, sir?
now we're gonna do the sales price. So with the sales price, the item originally cost $80, and because you have to pay a tax of $16, it would cost $96. You'd add the cost plus the tax. It's anything you buy in a store, then get for them money, and you pay a tax for it. Right? So we're gonna use a formula to add both of these. Whenever you're doing any calculation in Excel, you always use the equal sign. So equal the cost, which is the 80, plus the
Whenever we're
tax.
doing what, sir?
Any
You said something.
calculations
Any
in Excel,
calculation?
you always start with the equal sign. So the equal sign tells Excel that you're going to do a calculation. So we want to add E6, which is where the 80 is stored, plus F6, which is where the 16 is stored. Alright, so once you finish typing that, did you put in that as yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So once you finish typing that, you'll get the answer, which is 96. And then you use the fill handler, which is this little dot at the corner of the cell, and put it down for the others, and it automatically calculates for the other ones. If you look at the formula, automatically moves. Click on the next one, it automatically moves, right? So that's one powerful feature of Excel.
What you said again, sir, to carry it down?
Right, the fill handler, this little dot, you see this little dot in the corner right here? Once you put the
Yes,
cursor
sir.
in the corner, you'll see it change to this thick cross. You click and you drag it down, right? Drag it down and it will replicate the values right there. So now we're gonna look on some formulas and functions. So in your Google Classroom, you have some notes that I want you to read, especially if you missed last class. So if you scroll down to Excel, Microsoft Excel, you will see functions, right? So these are the functions that you're gonna actually use very frequently. So we have sum finds the total or add up the amount a range would consist of. So if there are 5 values, it add up the total for the 5 values, right? So you would have equal sum the first cell in the range to the last cell in the range, and would find the total for those cells. We have average equal average the first cell to the last cell, the first range to the last range. So it finds the average for the range. We have max, which finds the highest value in the range, equal max, first cell, last cell. We have min, find the smallest value in a range, equal min, first cell, last cell. And we have count, which counts the number of numerical values in a range. So let's go back to here. So we want to find the total for everybody. So we have a total. Want to find the total all the items, the total spent for all the items. Let's do it here. So what is the first thing we'd write when you're doing a calculation? When you're doing a calculation, what's the first thing you would write?
The equal sign, sir.
Equal. And to add up all of these, what function would we use?
The dollar sign next.
No, the sum function. Okay? So the sum function, so equal sum. So remember, the sum functions, right? Find the total of a group of cells or add up all these values in the range. The another way in which you could do it, you could say equal, click on this, plus, click on this one, plus, click on this one, right? Or you could say equal E6 plus E7 plus E8, right? Press enter. The reason why we use referencing and not hard-coded values is because say this 80 changed to 100. Look what will happen to the formula right here. You notice it automatically changed. That's why we use references. All right. So the total is 420. And let's replicate the answer to find the total tax and the total sales price as well. So replicate overall. Right, look, I never had to type this formula, it automatically go over to the next column. And this one automatically go over to the next column. That's relative cell referencing. So that's why we do not hard code values, it saves us time. Now let's find the average. Right. So equal average. So the name of the formula is called average. I'll put a bracket and we can just highlight the range. Right? We highlight what we want to find the average, or we can type the reference. E6 colon E8. Look. E6 colon E8. E6 to E8. I will close our bracket. I'll press enter. Then we can replicate using the fill handler and fill in the values for the other ones. So the average cost is 140. Next one, let's find the smallest value. Right? And remember, whenever you're having the value that you typed in, or whatever you typed in is coming over in another column, you can either widen out the cell or you use wrap text. Right? Wrap text, and you will wrap the value in the cell. Now to find the smallest value, we use the function called min. So we say equal min minimum. So when you think about min, think about, when we talk about min, think about, when we talk about smallest value, think about min or minimum, right? What's the abbreviation for minimum? Alright, min. Alright, so equal min, and you put in the range, which would be E6 to E8, close your bracket, and then we can replicate using the fill handler. Now we want to find the largest value in the range, right? And let's just wrap text here. So we use max equal max bracket, and we highlight the range. So the range is basically the same, E6 to E8, right? Let's border this a little. And then we replicate. Final one, number of items. So we said equal count, and counting these values right here. That's basically that. All right. So for the total, we use sum. Right. So the function we use is called sum. Right. For the average, function we use is called average. For the smallest value, the function we use is called min. For the largest value, the function we use is called max. For the number of items, the function we use is called count. All right. So if we look at this, oh, let me change back this. Equal sum bracket. All right. So I want you to add these to your worksheet. Okay. And let me know when you finish with this. You're gonna do something similar to what you just did. Right. So for the SBA, it says you're gonna create an ID number, first name, last name in separate column, right? And in terms of the ID, this is the format of the ID. So for the format, use the initials of the student along with a 4-digit code. So if the person's name is John Brown, it would be JB and any 4-digit code, right? And also indicate the pool the student belongs to. Now the pool The student can either be in pool 1 or pool 2. So 17 students are in pool 1 and 18 students are in pool 2. So in total, you're going to make up the names, IDs, pool, test 1, test 2, test 3, project, and exam grade for these 35 students, right? In an Excel workbook, similar to what we're doing now. 35 students and 35 grades. Remember, when you're doing the grades, please put on the percentage sign. Do not leave out the percentage. Got that? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Keisha, you there?
Yes, sir.
So you're not saying nothing today?
Because I don't have my laptop, sir. So
Yeah,
by Friday, I'll be back to my old self, sir.
uh, but yeah, and well, the class is recorded, so you can probably watch it and still go through the activities. All right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. And Rikela do this, we do fair thing already. So Sharika, you following? Sharika? Chantal? All right. So for the SBA portion, right, you're gonna do something similar to what we just did, right? So just follow the instructions, put in what you have to put in. All of this information is supposed to be inside the spreadsheet, right? You can put this at the top right here. And the school is what? Brookside High School, so you can merge and center this as the heading Brookside High School. Merge and center it across all the data. So columns that you're supposed to have, the first thing that you're supposed to type, probably you can type Brookside High School, then merge and center it across all the columns. You type this, then this beside it, then the ID, first name, last name, pool. It don't have to be in that order, by the way. Then test 1, test 2, test 3, project, exam grade, coursework score, and final score. Alright, so that's what you need to type up. Okay?
All of those that in the tree diagrams, sir, have to go on one spreadsheet.
Yes, it's one spreadsheet. Remember, it has multiple rows and columns, so you just choose an area to type the word. So you can type the first things them at the top, but then afterwards you type, just like how we have these, the rates. So you don't hard code the rates, so you put them on the top. So it's the same concept here. You wouldn't hard code these, you just put them on the top. Because we're gonna use these to do some calculations. Oh, I started the recording. Exciting.
All of this class has been recorded, sir.
Yes, it's recorded.
Okay.
All right. All right. So that's what I wanted to do. So that's basically task 1. So that's what I wanted to work on by Friday. All right, and in terms of activity, so if you haven't completed this activity, this budget activity, so complete that when you have some spare time.
So the saving of the work is similar like Microsoft Office, sir.
Repeat that.
When you saving this, it is similar like Microsoft Office. Like you can save it similar.
You're talking Google Docs, Google Sheets.
This this exercise that we did tonight?
You mentioned something about saving.
Yes, sir. So we're not going to save.
No,
We're not going to save this.
this is just for demonstration purpose. But what I want to see is when you do the work, the Excel activity, yes, you're gonna save it and upload it here so that I can see what you do.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's do another demonstration exercise. So we're gonna create a new sheet. All right, let me open the work that we did last week. So this is what we did the last class. We did a budget. All right, so we did a budget. All right, so the first thing we did, we merge and center the data across all of this. So we highlighted the columns. Then we use the merge and center feature. Then we can use the fill handler to change the color, whatever color you feel comfortable with. In terms of the date right here, you can change the formatting of the date or the formatting of any value. So for example, say we want to change the formatting of the date. We'd right click, then we go to format cells, and then you will see all the number formats or all the formats. Then you can click on date, and then there's plenty of date format that you can actually choose from. Right, so it shows you the sample here. Right, and press OK. For the money values, if let me just put it to general. So before it didn't have any currency, any dollar sign on it. So always put dollar sign on your money. So you can highlight the data. You can just press the dollar sign right here, and it will put on the dollar sign. Or you could highlight it, right click, format cells, then you go to accounting and you put on a dollar sign. Or you could go to currency and you could look for a particular currency that you want. Right, suppose you wanted to show the Jamaican dollar. You can select JMD, then press OK. And you can also change the number of decimal places as well. Right? And you get that. Let me stay to here. And for the total, we use the sum function to calculate the total. So equals sum B6 to B8. Same concept for this. We use a sum function to add up E6 to E13. And we use a similar function, similar formula to calculate the average, mean, max, and count. The only difference is the name of the formula that changed. So equal average E6 to E13. For the min, equal min E6 to E13. For the max, equal max E6 to E13. And for the number or the number of values or the count, equal count E6 to E13. Right, so E6 to E13. This is the range right here. And for the balance, we minus the income from the expenses. So equal B10 minus E15. So this is what we did last class. So there's a similar activity that I want you to complete, this one. So go and complete that when you're through. Let's do one more Excel exercise. All right. Now, the next thing that we're gonna do now is to make decisions in Excel, right? So we make decision using a if function, right? Just like when you're saying if something happened, then you'll do this or you'll do that, right? So we have, once you're doing any form of calculation, let me put some values in. So say we have item, and say we have quantity in stock, right? And say we have a thing called reorder level right here. If you look at this, it come over into the cell, so we just use wrap text. We use wrap text here, and say we use reorder. So the reorder is whether is a yes or no for reorder. Wrap text. Say the reorder level is 50. So let's put some color and bold this cell look more clearly. Let's border this data right here. Let's bold this so it stands out more. Alright. So we have pen, books, or book, rubber, and say shoes. Alright, quantity in stock 145, 50, and we have 30. Now we want the computer to automatically tell us whether we should reorder or not. Right? So we're gonna use an if statement to make a decision. Right? Now if. Now the part of an if statement, if logical test, value if true, value if false. Right? So if, and we have a bracket, the logical test is the condition that you're going to check. So we want to check if the quantity in stock is greater than the reorder level. So if 100, right, which is stored at B4, remember we do not hard
And
code
the re
for
what,
this.
sir? What did you say about the re what? What are you saying?
Reorder level,
Okay.
right? So so we want this to automatically tell us whether we should reorder or not. So if it's less than 50, we should reorder. So we want to put yes or no automatically for the reorder. We want the computer to tell us when to reorder. So we're going to use a formula, an if statement to do that for us. So this is a part of the if statement. First thing you type when you're doing any calculation in Excel is equal. So equal if bracket. So we want to check this to see whether it is greater than or less than 50. Right? So we put in the cell reference, which is B4. So it will check whatever value is stored at B4, right? So if B4 greater than or equal to 50, we put no. If it's greater than 50, we don't need for reorder, right? Else, yes. So this is the condition now. Let me explain this. So the if statement have three parts. So with the first part before the comma right here is called a logical test or the condition. is whatever you want to check. So you want to check if B4 is greater than 50. Whatever value is stored in B4, it wants to check if it's greater than 50, right? If it's greater than 50, it's gonna put no because it wouldn't need to reorder. But so this is the value if true. So if this condition is true, if B4 is greater than 50, you wanna put no. But if B4 is not greater than 50, you wanna put yes, the value is false. So logical test or condition, value if true and that comes after the comma. And then with value if false come after the next comma. So the comma is what separates these. So you have to put in the commas. So let's look what will come here. No, right? Let's replicate the values right here and see. Replicate the formula. No, yes, no, yes. So you see it automatically tell us, right? 45 is less than 50, so it's a yes. 50 is not less than 50, so we say no. Right? 30 is less than 50, so it's a yes. What if I change this to 20? You see it automatically change to yes? That's the power of formulas. It checks it and it automatically updates. Right? So I want you to try this for me. So type it just like where I have it and try this and tell me what you get. Oh, one thing I forgot to do is I put in the 50 here. I was actually supposed to use the cell reference to the 50, right? So in case the 50 changed to 60, it automatically changed in the formula. So I was supposed to use B1, but I didn't remember. So just make a note here and add in this in a formula if you already have it already. So if B4 greater than B1, so B1, column B, row 1 is where the 50 would be stored. I'll put the dollar sign on both sides of the B to signify absolute cell referencing. So when you replicate the formula, it won't move from this cell address. It doesn't really affect the formula now, but say we want to change the reorder to 20. Watch what happens. Notice this automatically update. What if I change this to 60? Watch what happens. Automatically change. Let's change it back to 50. See? Alright, so test this for me. Is everybody making note of this, right? Right, so if C4 column C, row 4, so if C4 is below 50 or less than 50, want to put low price, else nothing, blank, blank, gonna put just an empty space, right? Let's put this to 60. So it's blank, right? Because we have three parts to this. But the condition is checking if whatever value that is stored in C4, if that value is less than 50. If that value is less than 50, it will display low price, else it will display nothing, right? So this is a condition. This is the value if that condition is true, and the value if that condition is false. So now let's look at this one. Now this time we'll put a value. So it's either low price or high price. So if C4 is less than 50, we'll put low price, else we're gonna put high price if it's greater than or equal to 50. Let's put 45, low price. Let's put 100, high price. It automatically make a decision. Now let's use some other values. For this one, let's use the equal sign. So if C4 equal to 50, so it will only do something if C4 equal 50. If C4 equal 50, low price, else high price. So let's put 60. Nothing. All right, let's not use this one. Because this one, if C4 equal 50, it's gonna put low price, but if not, if anything else, it's gonna put high price. So this is not the one that I really want to modify. At least not yet. It's really this one, equal 50. So if C4 is equal to 50, it's gonna put low price, else it's not gonna put anything at all. So 60, nothing. 45, 46, nothing. Let's put 50. Right, low price. So equal is testing the equivalency. It will only print low price if C4, whatever C4 is equivalent to 50. Then we have not equal to. So the less than and the greater than means not equal to, right? So if C4 not equal to 50, low price, else nothing, right? So it's equal to 50, so it doesn't display anything. Let's put 40, low price. As long as it's not equal to 50, it will put low price. Once it's equal to 50, it's not going to put anything. Then we have greater than or equal to. If C4 greater than or equal to 50, low price, else nothing. Displays nothing because 40 is not greater than or equal to 50. Let's put it to 60. Right, low price. So let's use less than or equal to and see what happens. C4 less than or equal to 50, put low price, else nothing. So you put nothing, right, because it doesn't meet this criteria, because 50 is not less than 60. Let's put 45, low price, right? So this condition is true because 45 is less than 50. All right. Following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the letter grades. So in terms of the SBA, you will need to do a letter grade for your SBA, right? So this is how you would compute the letter grade. So let me just do it. Well, let's do this again. Let me just delete this. Now, you can determine whether a student passes or fails. So a student passes if that student gets a grade of 50 or more, right? So we're going to use a formula to automatically put pass or fail depending on their score. So how would I do this formula? How would I do this formula? What's the first thing I would type?
Equal, sir.
Right, then what?
Equal
Mhm,
if,
mhm.
right, equal if
Bracket,
bracket. This is what
right?
C or score is
C4,
no
sir.
man is score.
What
No,
is the cell
score.
reference for
Score
this one?
is B4
Right, so B4.
Logical test
or
is B4. Oh,
four.
okay.
Four
So
is
what else?
four.
So a student passes if that student gets a grade of 50 or more. How would you represent 50 or more?
Greater than or
Yes,
equal to.
greater than or equal to 50. And then we have a comma. The value if true, what should happen if whatever value is inside B4 is greater than or equal to 50?
That's right. Pass.
Right, so you put double quotation. So once you're putting any text, you have to use double quote. So you press shift and the double quote button, pass,
Pass.
then close the quotation, then comma,
Or
what?
fail.
Yes, fail. So if it's not greater than 50, they fail.
In submit to quotation.
Right, and you put your
Mm-hmm.
quotation and you close your bracket. Right, so you open the bracket, you have to close the bracket and you press enter. Fail. Wait, something wrong right here. So it should be passed. If B4, oh, the percentage is missing
It
on
should be
this.
passed. It's 85%, so it should be
No, no, the
50 or
problem
more
was
to be passed.
the percentage sign was missing from right here. I didn't have the percentage sign. I said ensure that when
Yeah,
you type in
the
the grades to put
percentage.
on the percentage, okay? Pass.
Yes,
And
sir.
if we replicate this, see, less than 50 fail, less than 50 fail, greater than 50 pass. Okay? So I want you to try these in your own time and practice these, right? For the letter grade is something similar. I'm just going to introduce a letter grade. So we're going to do the letter grade next week, but we're going to introduce it now. So we can actually use a formula to find the letter grade. Right. Same concept, equal if bracket. What we're checking now, we're checking if the score is greater than, well, let me see. So greater than 80%, they will get an A. So if B4 greater than 80%, then they will get an A. So you put it in double quotation, A. Right. So let's test this. Let's see. I'm not gonna put anything else, any other value. I'm just gonna do this one value right here and close the bracket. So this person will get an A because it's greater than 80.
85% or more.
So we replicate this now. Right. So this actually replicated, but the only way something will come here are if they get more than 80. So let's put 80 right here and see what happens. Oh, we should put greater than or equal to 80 right here.
That's what I was saying, sir. I was
Yes.
puzzled
Yeah.
about that.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah. It's a A. Right. So we'll put 100 A. Right. 50 nothing. Right. So this is what we're gonna kind of do before. The only thing we're gonna do a thing called a nested if, which the time we only have 5 minutes, so we won't have enough time to really say go to the formula for that because it's kind of long. Right, so we're gonna continue the letter grade next class and gonna look at some other examples. Any question before we go?
Oh, sir. In case I need assistance, I can call you when I'm using the laptop to do mine, right?
Send me a text first because sometime I'm having
Before, okay.
class.
Class, okay. All right then, sir.
But usually anytime after 1:30 I'm free. I have
You're
class
free?
8, yes, I have class 8:20 to 1:30 each day.
Okay.
So just go through the content, read the SBA. Sometimes you have to read it more than one time and just do it task by task. Right? It tells you what to do. So really just the task A is due. So go on it. Go on your task A and do what you can. So the recording for the class, I'll upload it tonight. Right, I started to download it on my computer instead of WebEx because with WebEx I still don't know how to download it. The coordinator said he would send a video on how to download from WebEx, but I still haven't seen that video as yet. So I guess when he make the video, he'll send.
What makes it so challenging, sir?
Repeat?
So challenging.
I'm not hearing you so clearly.
Said WebEx is so challenging.
Totally what?
Challenging.
Yeah, I don't really like it. It has its features, it can work, but I prefer Zoom. But I guess it can work, you know. I guess it can work if we take time to learn it over a period of time. Okay. You just try to use it, do what I can do, use other things when being better. Alright, so that's it for this class, people. So have a great night. Take care.
Thanks, and the same to you, sir.